That over there?
I came twice to record.
Okay.
I'm not coming.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, just make sure that we have the recorder.
I'm usually at the middle school.
You were going to be back shortly, they had said, and then I came the other day and you guys were in talking, so I left.
I would like to call the Montezuma-Cortez RE District, our School District RE1 work session to order. The time is 6 o'clock. At this time, I would ask for a motion to move into an executive session. Call for the order. Call to order. I just did that. Pledge to the flag. Sorry, guys. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I hear a motion to move into executive session?
Make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024F, where the board will discuss a personnel matter. I invite the board and anybody else, just the board? Okay. So only the board will be in it.
I second.
Okay, so we will convene into executive session.
We have to call for the vote.
Oh,
My God.
Are you ready? Excuse me, did Ms. Hart second?
Yes.
Frazier?
Aye.
Hall?
Aye.
Hart?
Aye.
Noyes? Aye. Rice?
Aye.
Wells?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Hey, it's nice. Thought I came in here. I was great.
Can we start at 4:07?
Oh,
Yeah.
we started at 6.
It's like jumping out of the hot tub.
Does it say? We ended our executive session at 6:32. We will convene back into our regular board meeting. Okay. Do I hear a motion to set the agenda?
I make a motion, we set the agenda.
Madam Chairman, we need to add a couple of items there. Can we have an item, appointment of executive directors, the acting superintendent, with Jim Parr to be the emergency contact? I second that change.
Wells has been motioned by Stacy Hall, second by Cody Wells, with the addition of adding an item to the agenda to appoint executive directors as acting superintendents, with Jim Parr being the emergency point of contact.
Do I need to change from?
As acting,
Superintendents.
Are you gonna?
So do I need to change to changes?
Yeah, after we got one more.
Okay.
We wanted to separate.
this would become item J.
Yes.
Could you read it again?
The motion on the table is to add to the agenda item J to appoint executive officers as acting superintendent with Jim Parr as point of contact. Of
Emergency contact.
Director.
Executive directors.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, plural. She's finished.
Do we need to call for the question? Yep.
Well, there's.
Frazier?
Aye.
Wait. Was there another one?
Yes.
Well, we'll make it separate though.
Oh, okay.
Let's go and vote on that first. Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Roll call.
Frazier?
Aye.
Hall?
Aye.
Hart?
I,
Noise?
Aye.
Rice?
Aye.
Wells?
Aye.
Right?
Aye.
Thank you.
Then another item to add in there as a discussion is to discuss the board's process for hiring an interim superintendent. Should be a discussion item only.
Okay, so we would add another discussion item, which would be item K,
Mhm.
to announce the hiring process for an interim superintendent.
With that in mind, I move to set the agenda.
I second it.
And then call for the question.
Frazier,
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Hart,
I,
Noyes,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Wells,
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, discussion items. Number 5, A, we've got an attorney letter of engagement. You all should have gotten that in your board packet. This is from Miller Farmer Law. We actually had him speak at our board retreat, and we've asked for him for a letter of engagement. This is just for us to read over, look over, and decide if we would like to proceed with his services, the law firm services.
Now, this is just, we will still have 2 firms.
Right,
correct?
this, yeah, we, and
Keep the one
it's,
that we
and
have
it's,
now.
it's advised that you have more than one attorney for different circumstances. And so this would just be adding another law firm into our pool of counseling. So did anybody have any questions or comments or concerns
We pretty well covered
on this
what
one?
he talked about at our work session, correct?
Right, yeah, he,
And so what would make it, what would be the difference in using the 2 for what reason?
well, like he says, he's not good with like truancy and different things like that, like certain things.
In the scope of work for his, he kind of outlines it'd be more, I think, advice for the board.
Yeah.
More strict level side of it and more like you were saying, like truancy, maybe OCR stuff would probably stay with.
Yeah, stay with our
Okay.
other,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
And this, by no means by us having this, does this mean that we are accepting this?
Right.
It would just, you know, would just,
Be on the agenda.
yeah, it would be on the agenda next week to,
Okay. Yeah.
as an action, as an
found that
action
very
item.
much what we was discussed during the work session.
And others.
Yeah, yeah, and we
Where does this compare with the attorneys that we have now, the fees?
have a new fee that came, I believe it was
Couple weeks ago?
$2.85 an hour. It was bumped up.
right.
Up to-
And the fees that they're charging are typical. They break it down, their top partners or certain thing down to
Mhm.
pretty competitive.
Okay.
Most important part of that is your relationship. If you guys like the firm, that's really what's important.
They answer our questions.
And he did say that he would
Attend board
love
meetings.
to come down.
Mhm. Give us in
And
services.
just give us, be at one of our meetings and just kind of check and see how things are. And then if we retain him, he's welcome to come to any board meetings that we feel like we need their presence. It may not be him specifically, but somebody from the firm.
Depends on
So,
what we were wanting on where their expertise lies.
right. So this is some information for you that you haven't had a chance to read through all of it. Just read through it. Questions. You can actually call his law firm if you do have a question that is not answered in here.
Right.
And then we can action item for the 22nd. Any other discussion or questions on that? All righty. Okay, discussion item B, the MOU with Grand Canyon. This is actually a Grand Canyon University. We have a memorandum of understanding between Montezuma-Cortez School District RE1 and Southwest Health Clinic at the MCHS facility. We do have a student healthcare professional, Kinsey Harris. She will be represented by our director, Jacqueline Hall. She'll be the mentor, basically, in this. She's actually kind of a internship, in a sense, is what this is. And she would get her hours through us to fulfill all of this for her college, for her degree.
For her degree.
So, any other discussion on that or anything?
Is Jacqueline agreeable with this?
Yes.
I guess it's really cool.
I think it's fantastic to be able to do that. If
Yeah,
Jacqueline's
I was glad we were able to get it pushed through. I think we were kind of with some changes. It was. So yes, so that's exciting. Okay, and then we have. Okay, item C, ESSER 3 funds.
Good evening, board. So as most of you know, maybe not everyone, so I have a couple of presentations tonight. One is kind of an overview of ESSER 3 and what it means to us as a district. And then also a survey that we put out to try and get some more specific feedback from the community and staff about what their thoughts were on allowable uses for ESSER 3. So once this gets going, it looks more intimidating than it is, but we'll get through it. I promise. So on the screen, I have a presentation. This is the overview of what ESSER 3 is. So, I'm not sure this is going.
That's Machine's talking to us.
Apologize, we just worked out one, I think, I promise.
You know what? It never fails, does it? Well, could you answer one question for me?
Yes.
So I've been getting a lot of emails telling me that if we accept ESSER 3, then we're allowing the government to dictate what we do. Is that correct?
That's correct with any grant that we get from the federal government or the state. There's requirements
So-
for all the money that we get.
So what kind of requirements are they asking for?
So requirements are, and I'll go through some of that, but there's only certain things that you can spend it on.
Right, I already knew that.
There's monitoring and reporting requirements. So they want us to say, for instance, okay, this is just an example. Let's say we're targeting math at one school, and right now these are the proficiencies. Well, by doing this and this year and this and next year and putting the ESSER money towards that, we expect to see those proficiencies be here by 2025. And we have to come up with our own mechanism to be able to track that.
And we get to choose the program that we, for the math or the English or
Right.
the science. Or
Exactly.
we get
It's
to
all-
choose the
It's
program.
all up to us on
Okay.
that. So there are, and it's just like everything else, there are certain things that have been vetted by the state, and they say, here's a list of certain things that we say is good by CE. And there's also things outside of that where if you're going to go that route, you got to get a little more documentation on your side and say, this is why we chose to do it, and provide the data to support that.
Okay.
But this is. no
But they're not
different.
dictating how we're going to teach or what we're going to teach.
No,
They're just dictating
Not this
how we're going to
one, yeah.
spend the money.
that will come through statutes and every other way to
Right.
come down to dictate that stuff. This money doesn't dictate.
It just tells us what we can and cannot use it for.
What I think is what happens is they see this money come through and they say, some of the allowable expenses are social emotional learning and behavioral health. And
But it's
mental health
some,
and
we don't
things like
have to
that.
use it on that.
Those are allowable uses. It's not saying that you must spend
It's
it on
not
that.
required.
There are requirements, but it's just saying that's an allowable use. And data probably shows at some point up at the state that that's probably an issue. So they make sure that that's one of the highlighted bullet points that they say, if you're going to spend this money, you can spend it on this. Because in a normal year when districts don't have that extra money, this is kind of it gets brushed aside. Behavioral health, mental health is not something that rises to the top priorities based on just your general budget. So that's kind of what
Okay.
is going on. Okay, so just a brief overview. This ESSER 3 Act was signed March 11th last year. And essentially what the feds did is send $122 billion out to the states. And then it was up to the states to figure out how to distribute that to their districts. And everyone kind of used their own methods. Our district kind of modeled our Title I method of how do we distribute things and those different guidelines. So
Do you mind explaining what Title I
yeah,
is?
so Title I is a grant that we get to serve, I would say your more at risk or underserved kids. And because our county, it kind of falls in that with poverty rates and different things like that, we get some money to additionally support students at those schools specifically.
Thank you.
Free and reduced lunch.
Right. Okay, I knew that, but there's people on YouTube and new board members that don't know.
Okay, so then, like I said, they gave it to the states and the states figured out how to distribute it out. As you recall, we received some other federal funds up to this point, CRF funds, COVID relief funds, and then 3 different ESSER series, 1, 2, and 3. And this is the 3rd one. There are rumors of a 4th one, but just in case you hear that, it's just rumors at this point. I don't know if it's really gonna happen. So there's differences in how you can spend each of them, and especially for ESSER 3, equitable services in non-public schools, maintenance of effort, and report on efforts to measure and address learning loss. So that's the difference between everything else up to now. Is these are some things that go along with this of accepting.
Does this money, is it spread out through our charter schools too?
So here is the lowdown on that. According to the law, we don't have to flow this through to our charters, but historically we always have.
Okay.
And we use we use the Title I formula to distribute to them. So they all, within that money, there is a portion that gets flowed through to the charters. So, and that's more to the fact that one of the differences include equitable services to non-public schools, and they want to make sure that even if there were private schools in our district, that they would hope we have a relationship with them to be able to flow through to them if needed, because they're our kids. So they're different districts having to deal with that in different ways.
I mean, so we could have to give it to Lighthouse Baptist.
Well, we
I mean,
could,
we
they
could.
request it, but essentially the first 3, that didn't happen. And so we're just kind of following the same model.
Okay.
So when this came out, they forced the states to accept this really fast. And the state was kind of fumbling, trying to figure out how exactly to flow it through and what the percentages were going to be. So we had to submit our statements and assurances by May 23rd. And so we did that. But actually putting the budget together, we wanted to make sure it was methodical. And we've had some things come up the last few months where we didn't want to just rush this. So the next step is presenting this to you, putting this, continuing the survey, and then getting the budget together to submit before March 24th. One of the requirements is seek and develop different ways to get public input and comments. So surveys are kind of I wouldn't say the easiest, but one of the most efficient ways to get specific information. Things like this. So I'm presenting here tonight, hopefully people are watching. If they have an opinion or comment, they come to the board meeting on the 22nd and they have their opportunity to give their comment. And that's more feedback for me to put into this. So once this is done, we put up on our website kind of how we're going to allocate our funds no longer than 30 days after we start receiving. So once we come up with this plan, we already have a narrative out there on our website of what our ideas are of how we're going to spend the money. But once this budget comes out, then that has to be public as well, just like our regular budget. And I just put down their Citizens Guide to Coronavirus Response. That's on our website, and that's half of what they're making sure is that we have a plan to keep kids in school, and then if we need to spend this money, we're following that plan to keep it going. Pretty much. So that's the total allocation we're going to get as a district, and keep in mind that some of that's going to flow through the charters. So this is, I have a pointer here. This is how long we have to spend the money. So there's ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3. You see here, ESSER 3, we have until September 20, 2024, or 2023, and then we have another 6 or 7 months to, if we haven't had it all encumbered by this point, they'll give us an additional like lenience time to make sure we spend it. So we have essentially 3 school years to spend this money. Okay, so one of the requirements is 20% of that right off the top has to be spent specifically to address learning loss. So when it says evidence-based intervention, that's what we were talking about. If the state's vetted this stuff or whatever, that works in our favor to be able to just get it through. The other 80% has a little bit more leniency on what it can be used for. Can't be used on everything, but some of the automatic allowable uses is if we take our IDA grant or our Perkins grant or ESEA or any of those, anything that's allowable under those is automatically allowable under ESSER 3. So those are very targeted grants, but ESSER 3 is like, if it's allowable there, we can use it here.
What about transportation? It doesn't, it kind of flows into that.
Well, and there's a piece here that I think touches on it, but you could possibly use it, and we've discussed this about you buying buses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to fall into the allowable uses, and the way you could spend it is saying, yeah, we're increasing student time with teachers, right? We're not decreasing time. We're buying buses in order to make sure the day's 5 minutes longer.
Okay.
Right? If we can show that we're buying it to increase learning loss time, we're good. But just to say we need to buy buses, it probably wouldn't be accepted. But I'm not saying we can't. We just have to be able to tie it to what we're trying to do for kids.
So Kyle,
Yes.
the allowable cost you're talking about, then say like with Perkins, an allowable cost is for professional development.
100%.
We use this there then too?
So here's some bullet points with some allowable uses. This isn't all encompassing, but this is just some highlights. So developing and implementing procedures and systems to improve preparedness and response efforts. So that's pretty much saying if something like this were to happen again in any capacity, even if, like, let's say electricity, how well are we to respond to continue education, right? What can we do to make sure that's better? Providing principals and other leaders the ability to address needs in their individual schools, right? So making sure that we're talking to the principals and getting feedback from them, because we don't want to be making decisions up here for what's the needs are for building level. Training and professional development for staff and local education agency. It says on sanitation and minimizing the spread of infectious disease. Yes, but it's also, if you need to do professional development to target math or language or anything in that sense, you can do the same thing. That'll be coming up there. Purchasing supplies to sanitize and clean. Planning, coordinating for long-term closures. Again, making sure we're prepared to continue education no matter what happens. Activities to address unique needs of our low-income children. So really anything that's in Title I realm, we can definitely start using money there. Providing mental health services and supports. Purchasing educational technology. This is a big one that a lot of districts have taken advantage of. If they didn't have computers or if they weren't online, a lot of districts use this money to just fix that gap. They're like, we're just going to make sure everybody has brand new computers and things of that nature. After school summer programs, that's a big one. Facility repairs and improvements to enable operation of schools and reduce the risk of virus transmission. So we can use it for some purposes, but it has to be to make the building safer or reduce the risk of any virus transmission.
What about HVAC?
Right, HVAC. There's different things, but that's usually the big one. Everything else I've heard from different people that if you word it right, you can get it in. But essentially, I want to make sure we're spending this money for the right reasons, not trying to put this in the square peg in a round hole because we have different needs we need to address. We definitely need to make sure we stay in the realm of what they're wanting us to do. Inspection testing of the HVACs or new HVACs that we get. I mean, it's costly. These filters have to be replaced twice as much. They're probably twice as much in cost. So having money set aside to make sure we can keep upkeeping those things, we can use the money for that. essentially, again, maintaining operation and continuing use of educational services. These are big three and all. And when we go through the survey is going to be open till Friday for ESSER 3 because I send it out. We'll go through that. But I want to talk about this because on the survey, a lot of the open-ended responses were, we need to pay teachers more. We need to incentivize them. We need to increase their salaries. We need to build schools. And we can't use this for any of that. This is not what this money's meant for. We can pay teachers what their salaries are now, but I can't pay them more. We can't increase our salary schedule with this money. We can't give a bonus and say, hey, it was a hard year last year, you guys deserve money. We can give them to us as a district, but not out of this money. We could give them hazard pay out of this, but we have to prove that our district was closed or in a health pandemic and that we have other people to support that claim. And then we might be able to give hazard pay again. But we gave hazard pay at the end of last year because in that school year, we closed for 2 weeks. And then we came back and we were one of the only districts to only close for that minimal amount of time. So we had things in place to make sure we were in person. It wasn't the fact that we weren't prepared in that sense. It was more of a teacher shortage issue, why things started getting worse after that. It wasn't that it was necessarily an unsafe environment. So with that, I just wanted to give you an overview, kind of let you know what's going on and answer any questions you had right now before we go into the survey results. Anything fun stuff?
No, that was good. Thank you.
All right. All right, can we go to the next one?
Kyle, could this be used for like interventionists?
Yes. Yep. Okay, so this is just the analysis I pulled from SurveyMonkey earlier today. Again, as of today, I think, so as of today at noon, we had 264 responses, and this will be open for another week, and we'll put out some more posts to Facebook or most of the responses were parent guardian, as you can see here, about 50%, almost 50% of them. Out of them, 119 were parent guardian. The others were, they fell into one of the, usually the MC at Montezuma-Cortez School District staff or somewhere, they just specified what they were. So it wasn't really any outliers. Select areas, the most important priorities as a district response to the impact of COVID-19. Programs and activities, and I think programs and activities that address learning loss. That was the, I guess, the highest, right? 76%. And so what we can do with this information is, it's not, there are a couple that are very showing, right? And you'd be like, hey, this is definitely the response. But here it just shows that, look, there is some input and there's some different things that different people are looking at, and these all definitely fall into one of those buckets. So there were some other responses, and this is where I think it's not on this one, it's not. But other was again just on this one particular, I don't think I added it in here. There's a list of other responses from anywhere, and most of them were increased teacher salary, or build a new school, or something that didn't have to do with the survey at all. And I knew I was going to get those responses in there. We just gave them another platform to kind of give.
I would like to do both of them.
Yeah, no, and after it's closed, I'm going to provide you everything. I just kind of wanted to give you a summary of where we're at.
I'm just saying that we can't do it, but it would be nice if we could.
Right. A minimum of 20% of the ESSER has to be used to address academic learning loss. Which one below do you believe will best address this area? So academic remediation recovery to include out of school and summer school programs at this point is the highest response. So yeah, again, I had other down here, and going through 70% of them, were increased staff salary. Well, and as we said, we can't really do anything with this money with that. Which grade level reflects your connection to the district? You can see kind of the spread there. Do you and your student participate in any of the following programs? And this just listed out like special education, gifted, talented, ELL, some different things there. And this, again, just shows us that we have different subgroups and everybody's making sure that they're being heard. This is what I found interesting. On this one where I put other, and it's please specify. Oh, a lot of the responses addressed online learning, but it wasn't that it was a mixed bag. Some of them were like, we need an online learning platform. We need to do this immediately. And others were, if it's anything like it was last year, give me a paper packet because that's not what I want to do with online learning. So there was, like I said, there was a mixed bag of addressing online learning, but it was more or less some were for it and some were, well, if it's not different than it was in the past, I want nothing to do with it. Which of the following four uses of ESSER are most valuable? Again, it's kind of a mixed bag. They're all about the same there. Learning loss, mental health support, health and safety needs, continuity of operations, continuity of operations. Which learning loss supports being most valuable? Enhanced summer school programming, academic supports, before and after school tutoring. As you can see, this is where I'm kind of thrown because if you read the other responses, it's more like before, after school, and summer school, but here it really shows, you know what I mean, different supports through the day to make sure that they're getting what they need then, which is understandable. Which supports would best address social emotional impacts of COVID-19? Please rank choices below. So it was counseling before, after school, or during the day, mental health, other resources than other. And then a lot of them were just had nothing to do with the question, but there was a good bucket of them that did say that we need mental health counseling or more counselors in some capacity. And what was nice to see in the comments is some people actually said, look, I'm not a teacher. This is my perspective. We need to get this information from the buildings. So that was good too, to know
That's
that
good.
that's when people were at least thinking directly about it. And then the last question was just please any additional thoughts you have for this one-time or short-time money. And again, most of those responses were either not related to the question or increased teacher pay or additional support. So I just wanted to share that with you right now. That's where we're at. Like, that survey will continue to run. I will provide those full results to you at the board meeting on the 22nd. We'll get the budget together. I'll provide what that ends up being, and then we'll make sure it's in before the deadline. So,
Okay, all right, you've got your work for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion item D, school calendar for 22-23 school year. That's you as well.
Just-
Okay.
What's that? That time got back up.
all right, so this is a fun one.
Mhm.
We've been working with different people, principals, trying to come up with some different options for next year. Knowing that one of the big things in place is the 4-day, and trying to compete with other districts around us to make sure that if we do go to a 4-day, that it reflects more of what theirs looks like. Because in the past, I think the 4-day that was presented here was based on making sure that 160-day rule applied, which the districts around us are getting a waiver to get under that. They're keeping their hours. So no one's getting away from the minimum number of hours that have to be in a day or a year. But what they're doing is getting a waiver saying, look, we can do it in less than 160. And if you're not under improvement, you can just do it. But if your district or schools are under improvement, they will allow it, but you also have to provide a very detailed, like, year-long calendar. Addresses your, even down to the assemblies you have in the year. So those are the things that we've talked to buildings and principals, and Mr. Park can attest that they're totally prepared to do. So I just want to let you guys know that, because what you see in front of you is 3 different options. Option A, and you can put it up, it's going to be the
5-day.
5-day. You can put it to 75%, as you can see. Okay, well, you have a copy in front of you and you can scroll down. So essentially the 5 days just, it mimics exactly what the first half of this year looked like. I mean, there's not much to it. The days are going to change a little bit. But that's just because days fall on different, it's a different year and we have a different number of days that fall in different places and vacation days and things like that. So instead of 179, it'd be 181 for staff days. Student days, elementary be 169, middle school be 171. We chose not to, or I should say, I'll just say, I chose not to include the start and end times or instructional hours on these calendars. And the reason for that is because given the situation we're in, the capacity and the time it would take to come up with all of these what ifs for these 3 calendars, we don't have it right now. But what we can do is if we can nail down one of these, then we can work and say, okay, what does a 1 bus route look for this schedule? What did the start and end times need to be for this? Then I can start looking at salary schedules based on the number of days. We can start generating the staff calendars for 12-month employees and everyone else. But to do all of that for 3 different options is just,
So you need us to decide so that you can get started.
right. So essentially we'll walk through these 3. And if we can walk away tonight and you guys say these are pretty good, with knowing that you have the full power to revise these in the future if something needs to be changed. But if we can get through tonight, I put a survey out to the community and staff on these, get some input there, bring it to the DAC meeting, and then I'll bring it to you on the board meeting and provide those results as well. If we could make a decision there, that would be prime.
And we
But
have teacher input.
yes, we'll get exactly.
Yeah, we need teacher input.
If
also.
not, and I don't
Or
really want
staff,
to
I
say
should
this, but
say.
if we don't and we have to do it in March, we're still okay, right? Even if we have to approve it in March, we're good. But the longer we wait, the longer salaries, the longer contracts and all that. So just keep in mind, it just stalls the whole process.
Okay.
And in addition to that, if we were to choose the 147-day, 4-day calendar, we request a waiver from the Department of Education. They don't necessarily, well, we have to submit it by May 11th, but ideally, Kyle and I have had this discussion, we would like to have that possibly at the, post our next board meeting so that we can submit our information to CDE early. So if they have any revisions that they require of us, then we have plenty of time to make those. So that's kind of the timing that we're working under here.
So option B is the 147-day option. This moves staff days down to 163, student days to 147.
And we have to have permission from CDE
To total 4 days.
to go for this one.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything under 160 days, even if we did 159 days, we would have to do a waiver.
And I hate to ask this, what are the hours that we're looking at?
Well, I know we didn't list them there specifically, but roughly at the high school level, what you're looking at is 7.4 hours per day. And at the elementary school, it's 7.3.
I meant for the year.
Oh,
It's
like
okay.
a total hour?
We meet our minimum.
Yeah.
We do meet the minimum,
Yep,
even
every
with the
single one.
147.
So we did the hours and everything, but when we start putting hours and the start time on there, I just didn't
Right.
want to.
I just wanted to make sure that,
I have an Excel sheet that calculates every single one of these down to the hours and the
yeah,
minutes.
I just meant that we're going to make our hours for the year.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's a non.
I don't care about the start and end time at this point. Yeah,
The only asterisk to that is at the bottom of this
I
page.
read that, yes.
If we,
Keep the passing period.
exactly, that's the only caveat there. And just to make sure and share with you, a lot of districts don't, or I shouldn't say a lot, but there are some districts that don't have that policy as strict as we do either, right? So a lot of districts can go into this automatically just going by state standards and they can, it counts. So
Okay,
just keep that in mind.
And I think the other thing to note is if if we don't continue that particular action of that policy, then you'd be looking at roughly another 25 to 30 minutes on top of each day.
My questions to principals. PLC, what will the teachers do? I mean, they really rebelled on having to come in on Fridays for PLC. How important is PLC? What do you do during PLC? Can you fight the fight?
I think, yeah, I think that this year was like a rebel, if you're gonna give us the 4-day week, give us the 4-day week authentically.
Yeah, that's what I'm
We just
hearing.
worked half a year of 5 days.
Mhm.
But I do think that I'm hearing a lot from our staff saying they want time to collaborate together. And so like our team leaders are saying like, we're using after school hours at this point and Fridays or whatever to come in. So having an organized half day to have some focused collaboration time would be much benefited. And like they do this not every single Friday, but like every other Friday so that it can keep consistent with data team meetings or just general kind of collaboration meetings across content would be super beneficial. And then having the half day lets them, you know, kind of do whatever they want for the rest of the weekend. And if they want to stay and set up their room or plan, they can, or if they want to get going, they can. So it just is a nice organized kind of focused time. Is what I found feedback about, but.
Okay, well, that's why I asked you guys.
Unofficially.
Because, well,
Based
you know more than we do.
my teachers are here using their planning times to do PLCs with one another.
Yeah.
Okay. So they would appreciate it, okay?
But I think if we moved to a 4-day, they were looking at, we discussed maybe half days every other Friday.
Okay, well, because I noticed, and I'm jumping ahead, I'm sorry. But I noticed that on the option C, you only have, see 1 day a month, but it's a full day.
And I can just say that I added that there because originally this 160-day calendar, we didn't have any PLC days on there. And I wanted to make sure and provide you a visual of what 1 day a month looks like versus 2, because
But it's a full
obviously,
day, correct?
yes, it's a full day.
Okay.
And if we wanted to change this to have the 2 half days, we definitely do that. But I just wanted to provide you guys an option to see what it looked like to have 1 day.
I guess my question is to, you're just showing parent-teacher conferences for element, oh, I'm sorry, never mind. I wasn't looking at that.
Is option B the one that aligns more with the surrounding districts?
Correct.
Option B
Okay.
is,
Yes.
yeah, I
And
truly think
option
that we will
C,
get a
the
lot of
spring break is.
parents. I think a lot of parents would buy option C.
Option C, the spring break does not align with them, right?
Yes, you're right. So on option C, we would need to move that spring break to the week prior.
Okay, so that's just that we could swap
And
that.
does that
Okay.
align with PCC?
No, I don't know about PCC. I know.
We haven't seen any surrounding calendars.
These are based off what the week would have been in the prior year.
Okay,
So-
yeah. I mean, I think it's as important to align with PCC as it is with
Yeah.
the
But we-
outlying
Yeah, we need to
districts.
make sure that we align with, especially the outlying schools, because we have kids going to all. I know one family that has a child here, Mangus and Dolores, depending on.
Are you okay with me confirming that, making the change and sending the survey out? Or do I need to confirm that with you that it's?
No, I'm good with you confirming, what theirs are. I am, I don't know about
Oh, yeah.
anyone else.
Yeah, we kind of need to know that. But I would really like to know where the staff and the parents are with it too. I cannot see the parents going with option C.
I don't see any-
Or staff.
Yeah. No.
You know, as a staff
No.
member, past teacher, I think I would find that hard.
We have had the steps.
Yeah.
We almost didn't want to present it, but I wanted to make sure that you had a contrast of what.
What it looked like.
No, that's a bit,
And
the
that's
visual's
good.
good.
Visual is very good.
Well, and historically, that's been something that we've stuck to, was trying to maintain a 160-day calendar, but look at the desires of having a 4-day week And this just really illustrates how challenging that is. I mean, it can be done, but you basically then have a 6-week summer. And, you know, it's just not as palatable as some things that we.
Well, I met with some staff, just met them over the weekend, middle school, and they were telling me how much they love the 4-day week and how much more engaged their kids were. So.
We're hearing that all over.
And I've had
all
parents
over.
tell me how much they appreciate the 4-day week.
I think one of the things that we'll have to look at if a 4-day calendar is chosen is some of the support staff. Seeing if some of them may do better on 5 days. And so like, for example, like maintenance and custodians.
Right.
See what this spring looked like for them. I'll talk to Ray and see if maybe they want to come Friday. And I don't know, I mean, we'll discuss that.
I think that that's an option that
And
they
there are
need to
some other
have. Yeah.
departments too that may want to do that too, but this
And-
spring, we just kind of said, hey, let's try this 4-day, everyone's straight up and then see what we need to work on.
And we're also going to need to address cooks,
Yeah, exactly. Yep. everything.
transportation.
Bus driver. Mhm.
Yeah, we've got to address all that because this is going to affect them
And then if
deeply.
it changes, you know what I mean, depending on which one it is, it changes times or start times, then we're talking about the preschool, and if they change, then we have to provide them breakfast, and then that affects the service. So a lot of moving pieces, but if we can nail down kind of the general idea of which way you want to go, then we can iron all that out.
Can we use
And
our
again, now-
necessary monies for the food,
We get,
for our breakfast and
we
stuff?
get different funding for food right now, so everybody's free and reduced, and then you get extra stuff, so we can
Okay.
definitely make it work.
And that again is the reason that we need to have a decision made, more importantly, by the 22nd.
Yes, so we need to know, I would like to shoot for the 27th.
And the nice thing, you know, is kind of elaborated about ESSER funds. And we have some resources to do some things on those Fridays.
Yeah.
Some extra school, and bring teachers in if we need to.
Give them
Give you a little more time.
stipend or something where they can come in and work with our at-risk kids.
Right.
And
Well, and personally, I feel like the 4-day week, I would think sanitation wise in the buildings is helping a lot too. So I think we could probably get pretty creative on some things to do along with that too.
With maintenance and stuff, yeah.
I'd like to add something on this, just as a teacher. The winter break or Christmas break, those 2 days, 19th and 20th, there's not gonna be any kids there hardly. So I think it's better just to go 26th to the 6th, or 26th to the 5th, or whatever that would be. That's just my opinion. We've had in the past Thanksgiving break, we'd have 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and there just would be, we'd have like 50%.
So you'd say,
Yeah, and that's just because of the way Christmas falls on this particular year that happens, but
And that has happened in the past too.
I know if you go that whole week, then you're going the day before Christmas Eve and you're gonna get sick, same complaints too.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're back.
it happens, but people get over it.
And I would,
I agree with you, though.
Yeah.
well, and another aspect is we're also looking at the number of days for first semester and the number of days.
Oh, yeah,
for
that's
second
true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a little heavy on the second semester side, so we had to kind of figure out where we could make that adjustment.
That's a tough one. It's just that.
Because even then,
Just not those.
I'm coming back, right, because they'd come back the 4th, and again, I mean, there's 2 days there too, so we were trying to figure out which is the pick your poison kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
it's a tough one.
So in this one, they wouldn't come,
They-
class wouldn't start till the 4th.
Fourth, yeah.
Right, that third should be orange, I apologize, because that's.
Well, it kind of is.
It
It
is,
is kind of, yeah.
just sort of blends in a little bit with the old. It's
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the staff says.
Well, then I will make sure the PCC and do my best to see if I get information from them, but like I said, I just was looking at past calendars and marking that week.
Right.
I'll make that change and then I'll send out the survey. If you wanted a brief idea of what the survey is gonna look like, you can pull up Durango's, it's done, but you can still go and click on it. It's very simple. The 3 calendars will be provided as a link. They can look at it. You go to the survey, option A, B, or C.
Very, very simple, cut and dry. No, yeah, I love that.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Ugh.
Well, I think you'll get more response when you do it that way.
Yes.
I think that's, because that's all we're looking
Don't
for right now.
confuse it.
We're not looking for comments. We're not looking for.
Yeah, we just want
want to know
to.
what you.
We've got a lot of input already from a lot of
Yeah.
departments and a lot of staff, and so.
Yeah, just wandering around town. I have people stopping and talking to me.
Are there any other questions you have this time?
The rest of the board, I printed these off from CDE also, made some copies. There are a few extras maybe to pass around, just to mill over between now and the next meeting if you have more questions. I think this is pretty good stuff, actually, from CDE. I was.
Okay.
So, interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay. All right, discussion item E, changing our meeting times for the year 2021 to 22 for, I guess, just the remainder of the year. That's,
You mean change the time from 7 to 6?
to 6 o'clock to have the meetings earlier.
I'm all
And maybe
for it.
we'll get done earlier and not to consume another 2 hours into.
Yes, it would not be nice to go to bed before midnight.
So any discussion on that? Does anybody have any?
I'm all for it.
Girls, are you good with that? Yes. Yes, we have, yeah, we're thinking of you as well. We're thinking of everybody that's coming to these meetings and
Yeah,
just
they
trying to
they
be
need a
a
break.
little more thoughtful of some time and getting home a little earlier. Granted, there will be times it may run a little later, but hopefully.
Yeah, but yeah, earlier, that
often,
would
but-
certainly be nice.
Okay, so
Put that on the agenda.
that is an action item on the agenda
For next time.
for
Did you suggest a time? I'm sorry.
at 6 o'clock. For all work sessions and regular meetings.
It's past your bedtime, Colin. It's past your bedtime.
So are we saying that we need to take a vote on that?
Well, I don't know if we do need to take a vote on that because I think we can just change that.
We can just change it, I think.
But I think we just wanted to discuss it and put it on the open for maybe anybody that's watching, that be prepared that our meetings will more than likely start at 6 o'clock from here on out.
And put it on our website, big letters, so they
It
can
is
see it.
listed there, so, okay. Thank you.
So yeah, probably don't need to have it as an action, just a heads up for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, item F, board packets. So what we would like to do is we would like to start putting the board packets up on our website for the board meeting, because so many people, you know, they're watching the meetings, but they can't follow along. They don't know what we're looking at. Of course, there's going to be some things that they can't have that we'd be discussing, whether it's, you know, certain names or salaries or, you know, consent calendars, things like that.
Well, salaries we can discuss.
Well,
just not
salaries, but
names,
just not
names.
that way they can be following along at home if they want, or they can go read it, look at it, read the superintendent report, any of the reports that are subject to for public viewing.
Yeah.
So
It opens our transparency.
One of the things too is, I don't know where we're at on board docs, but that would solve that issue as well.
yeah, I think that's what we had talked with Deb, that would take care of.
Attachments as you go as well.
Mhm.
So where are we, Deb, on that? Do you know?
Well, I was just kind of waiting until we had leadership in place.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yep. Yes, we can discuss that further, but for, yeah, so,
Yeah, I just wanted
but
to-
yeah,
Yeah,
just,
but that would be great because I really think that we need to be, the community thinks we're not being transparent. If we can give them as much information as we can, I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we used to do that all
We
the time.
did, that's what I brought up.
I don't know why that stopped or when that stopped. It stopped several years ago.
It stopped when
Yeah.
Bill was no longer superintendent, because when I was here, we put board packets in each of the schools'
Yeah.
workrooms.
Mhm.
And we gave a packet to the library so that everybody could see it. Of course, you know, there were certain things that could not be in there.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
but when Bill retired, who did we bring in? Stacy, and he didn't do it after that.
do you have something to add?
Yes, I would like to question on whether or not it would continue to be appropriate for me to include information regarding open positions at each school. insurance information, utilization reports of where the school.
I think that needs to be,
That,
that needs to be blocked.
Confidential.
Because it
There's
really,
some-
there's some information in there that's just not open to the public.
also, I have survey results for exit interviews that also.
No, that can't be in there.
So
Right,
the
yeah.
HR board report should be excluded from being provided online. As you know, I do present that information to you and I explain it to the best I can.
Mhm.
And it needs explanation.
Yes.
As we go through it. And so if it's just out there provided with no information.
Yeah.
It could be considered
Yeah,
difficult to understand.
I think that your packet needs to be
I
separate,
agree too.
because you give information that really, and when you discuss your packet, you are very careful on what you say, so
Okay.
thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, just anything that, I mean, with any of the director, the executive director reports, you, I think, would know what is
Appropriate.
Yeah.
So one of the concerns I had was timing. I wouldn't want to post, you guys get your packet on Thursdays. I don't know that the public needs it on Thursdays because I could see it showing up with a bunch of edits and everything put back in front of us. So what would be the timing you would prefer for the most current packet to be available to the public?
I think maybe the day of the meeting.
Yeah, I started saying Tuesday.
The day of the meeting, because we may have some.
Because I could
Prior to
set it
that.
where it auto generates it,
Okay,
the meeting start time.
Right.
yeah,
And we had talked about going back to July 1st.
right.
Okay.
Right, as far as going back, so they have like, because we've had a lot of requests for, yeah, a lot of that stuff, and so then that way we can just send them to that, at least to the beginning of this year. And then that way we can have that put online for them to go back and research and save on some administrative time. And
That being said, we also need to be careful what we need to make sure that information we give out is that we're not giving out the wrong information. Do you agree?
We have been receiving high volume of Quora requests. That information or those requests have been being sent to Deb Ramsey. Deb has started filtering through those, making a timeline of when the information needs to be responded to. She's been forwarding that information to me, where I've been working directly with the district's attorney to decipher what falls under the core laws and what does not. It's taking so much of both Deb and myself and everyone else's time that's working on it. We are doing the very best we can on responding to all of these. However, the amount of information and the detail of the information has to be reviewed, and it needs to be addressed very carefully, so that we are providing the correct amount and the correct information back under those laws.
So if I got a request just asking me to give them a policy AAAA, do I give that to you and let you respond, or do I just give?
There
them-
is a form on our website, and Deb also has that form. So any request from anyone needs to be directed to fill out that form. That way we can identify exactly what it is specific that they're asking for. There's a place on the form that we can respond if we cannot give it to them. Also, we have a certain amount of time to provide that back. And if it takes more time, then we can add the days to it.
to make sure that we are getting it all put together. And then there's actually a charge for it. The first hour is free, and then anytime after that, it's $33.58 per hour plus 25 cents for every copy made. And so that information also needs to be provided back to whoever's requesting it, because it's not just free. I mean, it's taking all of our collective time.
So does that go back to them prior to giving out that information and stuff, that like a bill to them and stuff for that?
Not the bill, because we don't really specifically know how much it's gonna cost by the time we get it done. But they are notified that it will take, let's say, 3 days or the additional 7 days, and that they will be invoiced for it prior to picking it up, and they have to pay for it and all of these types of things. Because just in the last couple of weeks, it's been Deb, myself, Jim, Kyle, Mark, Stephanie, Judy. I mean, it's taking all of our time to respond to all of these requests, and then to determine whether or not can this information be released? Is this personal, private, personnel information? Is it separate from one employee versus another employee, or?
You gotta think about, we're having a lawyer review this to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Yes.
That's a bill.
And that's a bill.
That's gonna be a huge bill.
And is that passed on to them?
That's
That's all us.
And it's information, you know, we're told, yes, we can collect all of this information. However, once you collect it, the attorney needs to review it to make sure that it's appropriate to be submitted. One person reviews it all.
And not saying that money's not well spent. I'm just saying that there is additional costs behind that process.
So where does the money go? If they got like a $50 bill, where does it go? Does it go to general fund?
It goes right into the general fund.
Okay.
It essentially doesn't get spent. It just comes in, and then we have this revenue next year, and we can
Okay.
if we want to, but it's not like something we depend on.
Right. I just was wondering if it just went in the general fund.
The form that she's referring to is going to come up on February 22nd as a policy. I found on some other websites, other school districts, that they had the same policies we had in place for public records, but they had already taken on an E version, the
Yeah,
exhibit, thank you. And so that's what we did, is we kind of just duplicated other people's efforts, and we will have a form in front of you for approval.
And
as a board policy.
It's more specific, you know, because we might get an email or a voicemail or something saying, hey, I want this. In the form, it's specific, and it outlines exactly what it is they're after. It can be very generalized. And if it is generalized, then we can respond directly and say, please be more specific on what you're asking for.
And can just any citizen request these reports
Yeah.
or these requests? Do you, I mean, don't you have to be a newspaper reporter doing an investigation, an attorney, just any?
We're a mini government, and them paying taxes essentially gives them access to ask all this stuff. And in Colorado, it's a little more intrusive. It's the sunshine law and all that, so. I'm learning this too. It's open to everyone.
Also, and if our board isn't aware of all of that law, the sunshine law, Melissa Barber was very generous in her time, said that she'd be happy to put on a training for you in regards to the open records law and sunshine law. So if you'd like to do that, I can schedule that information or that training.
Yeah.
Find out when she's available, and if you would like to do it on a weekend, or I don't know how it would be presented, but she did suggest that if you weren't aware of those laws, that she could provide that training to you.
It's in our law book, but I think it would be good for us to be trained in it.
Okay, I will let her know.
So just to kind of recap this, if we open this up and put our packets online where they can just do a link, click on a link and go into it and look at it. And if they fill out the forms and they can get, anybody can get the request as long as they fill out the form and pay for it, then maybe this will cut down on all of the misinformation that's out there. It should clear a lot of that up. Do you not agree?
It's definitely a good way to look at it.
That's a positive way of looking at it.
I think the more you get out there, like you said, so if someone has a request for policy, they can just direct them to the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know, but I was just using that as an example.
That's a good example of the more we can have on it, it needs to be transparent. It's not work for us, it's already there.
Because I know the board's goal has always been to be transparent, and somehow we must have failed. So this is a step of correcting it.
Okay. All righty. So was that something we were going to put on the, as an action item to approve that, or can we just go ahead?
Policy.
The policy, okay. Okay, so it'll go to like a first reading and then,
I can't remember that in letters exactly.
okay.
Okay.
All right, and in your packets, we did have a USI letter of recommendation from Matt Kashner with the city. I don't know if you've had time to read that. But I asked him to submit a letter.
That looks very nice, doesn't it?
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I could probably read this out loud. February 7th, 2022. Thank you for your interest in USI. USI's performance over the past several years as the broker consultant for the city of Cortez makes it easy to offer a recommendation. Daniel Clark, Stephen Scarano, and the entire USI team's hands-on, highly skilled approach and commitment delivers transparency, improved efficiency, and cost effectiveness to the city of Cortez's employee benefit plans. USI's resources and teams are driven by their proactive annual service calendar with event dates throughout the year to better manage and service our benefits. There are no surprises with the personal attention to the details USI brings to the city of Cortez. Sincerely, Matt Kashner, Director of Human Resources, City of Cortez. So does anybody else have any information they would?
I can personally attest to the health benefit packet with the city of Cortez. It is a very elite package. I know that we probably cannot come close to doing that. The city's health benefit package is phenomenal and has maintained, even though, you know, the city has gone through the financial issues that they went through for the last several years, their self-insured health insurance plan has been phenomenal.
Why do you say we wouldn't be able to compete with that?
I just don't think ours is as healthy as theirs is right now.
Oh, but it could be.
It could be.
It could be. We
And
can
it
build
should
to
be.
it. We
Yeah,
can build
it
to
should be. I mean, just to give you an example, I retired 5 years ago. Before I retired, I was on the city plan and had been for almost 40 years. Up until, it was probably about the time our kids left home and were no longer on the insurance. We still only had a $250 family deductible.
Wow.
And it went to a $500 deductible when ours jumped to $3,000 for the city or for the school district.
Wow.
And the city, up until about 7 years ago, paid for the entire family plan fully. Now the city, you know, as insurances went up and those kinds of things, the city now pays 80%, I think. The last couple of years that my husband was working, I think it cost us like $14 a paycheck for my insurance. And we still only had a $500 deductible. So whatever the city's doing, and I've been saying this for the school district for quite some time, many years past, I sat on the insurance committee and it went away, and I don't know why it went away. And I solely sat on it, not for my own benefit, because I already had those benefits. I was trying to help the district get to that place so we can help our staff, our teachers get those kind of benefits. And I think if we work closely with these people in doing that, we can get back to what we had before.
Well, I'm super excited to be working with you, Usi, now. And for the last 2 weeks, they've been providing me updates weekly, well, actually almost daily. They're still researching and evaluating different aspects of our plan. And on the 22nd, which needs to be on the agenda, but I will present an update on all areas of USI where we will be, what we've found, what we can change. Kyle and I had a really good meeting with him last week. That was the first time that Kyle was actually introduced to John Corbett since he wasn't at the board retreat. And information that John provided Kyle was very impressive as well. And Stacy, I don't see why we can't be in that same pool of providing excellent, very rich benefits to our employees next year. You know, we have to go through the renewal process and then put all of the carriers through an RFP and you know, realign everything. Right now, all of our different policies have a different renewal date, which is very frustrating to John. He's working with our carriers to get them all to where everything will renew at the same time each year. And they're doing a lot of digging and investigating and managing the cost and seeing what we can do, you know, because we can't change anything until the renewals.
Right.
Those will start in June and then progress throughout the year. So I'll have an in-depth report on the 22nd, let you know where we're at and how we're doing.
And I think that these benefits are a huge recruiting tool for
I agree.
us.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I see, what, 1, 2, 3, and Robert was just here. Four of the principals that are sitting there, or were sitting there, have spouses and that work for the district. We used to offer a really nice package for our spouses and families, and that got taken away.
Yeah.
It's, you know, when we lost that family plan for those people, you know, like Drew and his wife, you know, that hurt. And if we can offer that to a couple that's coming in, young couple, or that don't have family yet, or a young couple that have a couple of small kids, I think that could be a real game changer for us to hire good staff.
So we'll have basically a cost savings on the 22nd, you said? We'll have an in-depth report.
I'll have an in-depth report to you on what we have found so far, what USI has found with our current brokerage services, what he proposes that we change, and then the calendar in that reference, it referenced a calendar that'll show you what's going to happen throughout the year. He's going to provide that for us. And then we'll have a team of 12 associates. They're putting together that team now, like who our customer service reps are going to be,
Who I talk to
if I have a problem, who direct dial. So they're going to assign a whole team to just Montezuma-Cortez School District. I should have those members to introduce, not here in person, maybe, you never know.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
It would be, and just give you a status update, you know, from February 1st until what's transpired through that time. And, you know, he presented the PowerPoint showing what he estimated would be the cost savings over I think, was that your
You gave us 5 years.
5 years,
5 years.
$6 million.
$6 million, yes.
Yeah.
$6 million over 5 years.
Over 5 years.
I want the community to hear that too.
Did you want to say it a little louder?
Yeah.
$6 million over 5 years.
Savings.
Yes. Do we know what we could do with $6 million in this district?
Oh, just think about teacher pay.
Yeah.
We can't use ESSER three
Right now,
pay, but we
he
can
is
use that.
reviewing, our workers' compensation policy and carrier. We had a separate, broker of record on the workers' compensation, and you're all aware, I hope you're aware of how bad the premiums were, how high the premiums were, and how much we paid
That's our last report.
for workers' compensation. And so they're doing a study right now on that. And then as well, they're looking at our liability insurance to see if there's any proposed cost savings there or what they can do to assist us with that. That is, the ultimate goal is to have USI be our broker for all our insurance carriers. But at the present time, it's all health and then workers' comp, with the liability is still under SIDSIP. But we're doing some comparisons to see if that would be even reasonable to make that change or not. If not, SIDSIP's renewal is coming up the end of this month, I believe. So that's something that we definitely need to look at because those premiums are super high as well.
So basically over $1 million a year for just our self-insurance health. And then probably a lot of savings in other areas as well. So, good.
Yes.
Thank you for all that.
I'm
Thank you for,
extremely
Thank you
excited.
for working so hard for this.
I was so happy after the board retreat when the John Burke, John B, that's all I can say, John B.
Outer Banks.
When they presented, because I was excited because I felt the energy and, you know, how focused and committed they are to the district and what they could bring. And, you know, they were willing to answer your questions and just so upfront, transparent with everything that they could do. And I was just really excited when they took the opportunity to do that presentation. It was awesome.
And yeah, you can tell when they took over, a lot of our carriers
Oh my
started
gosh,
reaching out,
yes.
asking us if we needed something. And it was
Everyone.
because
They weren't
reached out
doing
to
it
the-
before,
Right.
yeah, and they.
I had requested all of this information. I was being ignored and I was sending emails and I was making phone calls and I was saying, please, I need this information. And I was being just ignored or pushed aside.
Now they're
Was it
willing to give it
important?
to you?
Oh dear, no, they wanted to give it to me. I tell you what, I've had a lot of very difficult conversations over the past month,
They
y'all.
did give it to her.
Since we signed a broker of record to change these over. And those commissions, those unknown hidden fees are no longer being received. And the carriers are like, what did we do wrong? What could we have done better?
Oh, I don't know.
What happened? And, you know, just having some really difficult conversations with some of those individuals and they wouldn't let up. And basically it came down to, well, you know, we asked for recommendations on what we could do, so we didn't have these deficits every single year, doubling and quadrupling, and that's what's happened over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And there's been no recommendations or no, you know, end in sight, other than you're just gonna have to pay 100% and budget it that way. And
But to be fair, the district kind of let it happen. And they really were not paying close attention. And that's shame on us because we didn't know.
It's hard when
We
you're,
should have asked the
when
questions.
you're in a relationship with an entity for over a decade. It comes a point, are they taking advantage of you or are they really working for you because they're there for, and
Yeah,
in
The
this
comfort
instance,
zone.
it just came to the point where we found out, as she said, the options we were getting last year to save money were, okay, change prescriptions and we could save some here. But essentially, you guys need to stop taking on the increase and pass it on to employees.
Mhm.
And just the conversation we had the other day, that wasn't even the way to do it. That's not how you do it. There's real ways to save money, and it's like, well, that's what we needed.
Yeah,
Someone to,
so someone that would explain and answer our questions.
because if someone here doesn't understand it in that capacity, and I don't think anybody really did until she got here, it's easy for them, I don't want to say take advantage to be, but to say, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
And you take the word for it.
Well, they just. Commission.
Well,
I did
So,
take
yeah,
advantage
exciting.
of us.
and another thing, Stacy Hall, I am going to request that the benefit committee be reinstated. Because we do need to have that communication at the very least with representatives from all areas of the district. And that's also another way that we can pass on the information and the learning strategy and discuss it with individuals. And then we can definitely bring that to the board for final approval on what we want to do. But if we do have to make a difficult choice and possibly increase a premium here or something, at least it's going to be discussed and decided on within a committee rather than just we're doing this and we're
Yeah.
gonna pass it along.
Yeah, yeah.
What I'm hoping is going to happen though is like the family plan right now, if you want to add your family, it's extremely, extremely expensive. To the point where nobody's doing it.
Right.
Because they can't afford it. So if we can reduce the premium for the family, perhaps we could reduce that. We might have to increase the employees a little bit, at least to even it out, to encourage more family plan participants, and overall that will reduce the cost of our administration. It's a little difficult to explain. John was really helpful in showing us the more people you have on the plan, the less it's going to cost you. And we want to
He said that at the
encourage
retreat.
families and children and healthy
And
people.
dental.
Dental,
Exactly.
yeah.
He wanted to encourage
Oh,
that.
dental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, before, when we had and I don't remember these numbers, I'm just pulling these out because they're easy to pull out. A family plan was $1,500. And we paid $700 for Emily Pearson, and we paid $700 for Drew Pearson. So they should have only had to come up with another $100 for that.
And why isn't it still like that?
That's my question.
You're still doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was that way. And then all of a sudden it went away and no one could explain
That's
why.
more commission.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and prescriptions are so important too. I know that when my kids were small, prescriptions for that, vision and dental.
And there's other areas besides, there's the AccuRist is our carrier for the stop loss. Remember the whole stop loss
Yeah.
conversation? So there's a specific carrier who manages just that. So that's being addressed. And then you have the
good.
carrier for the telehealth. And then you have the carrier for the vision and the dental and the medical. And then you have EMBS, who is the administrator of all of this. They take the claims and cut the checks and pay the bills and then sends those bills to us to cover up into the stop loss. So there's someone who does that. So just on our medical side, there's 6 carriers with all,
Yeah.
So we're going to get our money's worth.
we're gonna consolidate, he's making sure that the carriers are doing what they're supposed to do. And then upon renewal, we're going to look at carriers that can afford the stop loss without that aggregate deductible. Remember that we discussed?
Yeah.
So he's addressing all of these issues and he's reining them all in and letting them know what's changes, and then I'm getting the phone calls. But it's gonna work out really good, and I'm super excited of where this is going to lead the district with our benefit coverage and our liability and workers' comp into the 21st century. It's gonna be so much better, and the education part of it. they will be helping us every step of the way. So every person who works for the district knows what the benefits we have and what they can do for you. He explained it to me as one part is, so if you are gonna buy a car, are you gonna take it for a test drive? Or would you buy a car without test driving it, basically? Never, right? I guess you can buy it online maybe and drive it when you get it. But normally you test drive a new car before you buy it, right? And then once you buy it, you use it, you drive it, you don't just park it in the garage. Well, he compared insurance to buying a car like that. Like if you bought a car and didn't test drive it and then just bought it and parked it in the garage and never used it, you're paying on it, but it's parked there just in case you might need it. That's how people look at insurance. So they'll buy it without really knowing anything about it. And then they just set it aside in case something really bad happens. And so he wants to educate the staff, everyone included, for the preventative portion of the plan. If you utilize the preventative measures, like every year get a physical, go to your dermatologist and get a sunscreen or skin cancer check. Have, at certain ages, for men, there's certain tests, and for women, there's certain tests, and for babies, every certain amount of years, there's certain tests that you do. You go in and you have these exams. So really train the staff to use the preventative services. That way it detects problems earlier, and then they can be treated instead of just ignoring it and waiting until someone gets extremely sick and then going in and then finding out that they have something very severe that's going to be very expensive. So just something like that. He wants to start training and educating and helping individuals realize the importance of starting from the ground up and knowing your insurance and using it every day like you would a car.
Making it user friendly.
Yeah, that's how he explained it. So it was really good.
Well, I'm excited for the staff.
I'm excited too.
Yeah.
And you said February 22nd, that's when we're
The
gonna,
next board meeting, it'll be part of my board report. Yeah, I might just bring him back down here too, when he can do it. That would be.
awesome.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Okay, discussion item H, we have policies that pass the first reading. I think these are brought back because we need to change them. Again, we need to remove Dr. Vanderway's name from certain portions of these.
I'm taking input.
Yes.
So, yeah, on AC, I just,
Don't we, okay, never mind.
go ahead.
Where's our motion to discuss?
Never mind.
No, so we just need to, like on AC, we just need to take the compliance officer off and just put HR.
Well, or do we need to write that
Do
blank?
we need to have a compliance officer? So who would that be?
Jim.
So the next person.
I saw that you.
I see Kyle left. Yeah, it's Kyle. He just come left.
What my colleagues think.
I would suggest Emily be, yes, no.
No,
These actually have to have a name on, or just a title?
No, I think they have to have.
They have to have a name. Need to
yeah.
have a name.
She's the only other person I know that's as qualified as I am. So in the interim, until we can get someone else trained, because I know that Jim, you haven't taken that training, right? See, so
Okay.
you either put my name there or you leave it blank. It's up to you.
And I can tell you from our OCR complaint last spring, we have to,
This isn't OCR, this is Title
but we are finishing up going through OCR.
oh, right, yeah.
That's another name on a different one.
Yeah, this is just Title IX right now. We're just going through
Not
it all the
just,
time.
but
So we can leave.
That's why I was asking, because then we're just gonna have to bring this back up to change a name
Mhm.
in the near
Right.
future again, probably. Okay.
I don't know about the names on this. They certainly are changing up fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
yeah, bear with us. Yes.
So the suggestion for AC is
Leave the name off, just leave.
leave compliance officer off?
Right?
To be determined.
I just don't think you can. I think you've got to have a name in there because you've got to have somebody to go to or to answer to for.
So we just don't have the compliance officer there.
It's still under Title IX. There's the
Yeah.
investigator, the coordinator.
They're all the.
So, and Jim's not, well, he's not,
There's a training.
he hasn't had the train.
How long is the
Remember
training?
that has had it?
16 hours.
16 hours. I bet he could get there before our next meeting. I'm just.
Would anyone like
On a
to
Friday.
assist me?
Are you up on a Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, is there anybody that, okay, you're talking about,
I
I think Katie would be good.
Drew's really good too.
Drew would be good.
Except, Drew's school has. Maybe he needs to be excused because most of these come from his school.
is it no more?
Title
The assistant principal.
I know.
Yeah, is that who she was referring to earlier?
That is.
That is, and
I'm still here.
I brought that.
So were you recommending,
Drew has also recommended that we possibly contract with an outside agency to assist us with this.
It makes it.
It makes it so much smoother
So
and
who would
easier.
the outside agency be?
I have a name here. I had brought one, but unfortunately that person, let me see if I can find, so sorry, guys.
I mean, we can't do anything till the 22nd, but
Well, and if need be, we could push second reading of this to March. If we're in a pickle.
Yeah, but we still have to.
No, we still have to have.
No, we
it
still-
on.
But yeah, we need
yeah,
somebody.
we need a name, so. And we can't put it on tonight, but
Well,
If you
if
could bring it
policy
to
still
us.
sits with Liz's name, because this is approved.
yeah. So Cindy, if you could bring it. to us
And
on the
looking
22nd.
for. Melinda Leon. Melinda, last name Leon. She's a Title IX investigator.
We've had Title IX cases in the school where we had her as an outside investigator and then ones from inside. And I will just advocate for, I think, for just the professional practices of not having any conflict within the district staff, as well as just the experience and the ability to make things happen very quickly.
I was gonna say, and the time constraints.
In Mexico, they actually suggest that your investigator is an outside person.
I think it's a great idea.
I-
Because then you take that, it's more like, it's more like.
We don't pay
yeah,
financially.
It'd be
Like an audit.
I'm sorry.
A mediator.
We definitely do it because the cost of not having it much outweighs.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
absolutely.
that.
That's
All right,
exactly
so
what
I guess bring the
said.
name back and the cost. Oh, I'm sorry.
what?
So we need to contact this individual and get an agreement with the cost of what they would charge and then bring that back on the 22nd.
Okay,
And then we could list that name as the investigator / coordinator, and then my name remain under compliance officer.
okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
And does that go for all of these, the non-discriminations and all of that?
I had actually
That's a great idea.
requested that possibly Liz Richard return to complete the ones that she had started and the OCR information that she had started and wasn't able to complete. However,
due to her para
Can't do it.
retirement,
Disability.
Kyle said that we wouldn't be able to hire her even as a contractor. So
Okay.
that was my first request because she is familiar with it. And I thought it would be a good idea, at least temporarily, to bring her at least in to finish the month that she had started and to assist with some that we had. He said,
No go.
couldn't do that. So I requested her.
It's not that, it's that he's essentially messing up her medical retirement.
Right.
Right,
Just,
right.
Yeah. Her disability, she wouldn't be able to do it.
No, yeah. Okay. That pretty much, does that cover, like, see, 1 through 7? A lot of this that we got to bring back with name changes and things like that. So when we get to 8, the organizational chart, so you'll do your back work on notifying Melinda and then bring that back. Okay. The organizational chart, at one point we had removed the assistant superintendent and we are wanting to put that back on there. So that's pretty much all the changes on,
So
I see that.
take out the executive admin and do assistant superintendent.
No,
well, no, it's just,
I believe the executive admin, take out where it had.
Oh, I was
requested
looking at the wrong form. Never mind.
Sorry, Deb.
Director of operations, I believe.
Yeah.
What was requested to add.
mhm. Yeah, so we're just taking it back to
Yeah.
where it was,
To where it
where it
was.
needs to be. Yeah.
That's great.
And then you guys were provided with the colorful, this is our office version that includes the names. Since the actual policy doesn't include the names, they go with the titles.
So it's just a clearer breakdown.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's just for your knowledge.
I didn't flip part of it.
By adding that back on, is that final today or does it have to go before the
22nd.
22nd.
finalized? So once that's final, then we can begin the recruitment for an assistant superintendent.
That's coming up.
Right, okay. Okay,
For the assistant. Okay.
okay. Okay, number 9, CB or EBCE, school closings and cancellations. So I think that one, we do finally have that one, I
Yeah,
think, where it
I
needs to be.
liked the way it read. So we can bring that back for second reading.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then 10, which is GDO-E, support staff evaluation form. And that's one that you guys have. So we'll be using this a lot now, right?
Yeah.
So will support staff be evaluated on a yearly basis, just like
Yes,
everyone else?
ma'am, it will
I'm not
be required to be completed prior to any renewals, any contract renewals. So I have requested that even though this isn't all the way past, that our staff start utilizing this. And I'm hoping that we have these turned in March
Okay.
prior to commencing any type of contract renewals or assignments.
Yeah, give the principals a chance to.
And you've been doing trainings on like difficult, evaluations and difficult conversations and things like that, haven't you?
Actually, we haven't had that time this
Okay.
year to
She's
do
been
that,
assisting in a lot of.
but I. Yes,
Yep.
anytime that happens, I've definitely requested to be there and to walk through or work through this. And also if it affects an employee's pay, whether it's a suspension or a termination, and it's required that HR be involved. But fortunately, principals are, take a look at this letter or, can you sit in on this? In fact, I was working on one this week with
different department. Not a principal and a teacher per se, but a director and some staff. So they're getting more comfortable all the time reaching out and say, I have this issue, can you help me with it? But I have JC Sierra right now working on training development from outside training to help in evaluations, putting together some training materials for that type of thing, leadership training, supervisory training, evaluations, and a lot of the developmental stuff.
Good, okay.
Yes, but I haven't had. Yeah.
Will that be implemented before, you said you're wanting these to be done by March? That's probably not gonna, the training's not.
There's some limited vector training that we have provided under SIDSIP, and I sat down and went through it all, and it's about 3 hours to do it all. And if I could assign that to all of the supervisors and principals, but it's really late, actually. It's not, sorry, it's not something that it's not worth the time spent in sitting and enduring it. We need something better.
Okay.
Definitely better than that.
Okay.
I thought at first that would be a great way. We could do it online, they could do it at their leisure, but it's just not what we need.
Yep.
So I know you're busy, but have you had time to like even research like a different option?
JC's doing that for me.
Okay, so that's what she's doing. She's gathering all that information. Oh, to bring to you. Okay.
She's, said that she would be willing to help in any way.
Okay.
Form that she can. And so that's one thing I asked her to help me with is trying to pull in training options for our
Okay.
staff.
Okay. Okay.
She's working on that.
Good.
Okay. Alrighty. Any other discussion on that one? Nope. Okay, so moving on to I policies that requested for more review. So we've got IMB, IMBR, GBGM, and GBGME. So you can read over those that have been submitted if you see anything else that you would like to change or whatnot. Otherwise, I think we can bring it back for first reading. So if you have any thoughts or questions on it, just have them ready for.
We're talking about all these?
Yeah.
The
1 through.
1 through 4. Mhm.
Yeah, I got to speak upon the teachers and the staff. I don't like that discretionary leave one. So took it upon myself, kind of give examples.
Yep.
I make a copy for everybody here, even Dale.
Perfect.
I just think, things come up in life. Funerals, graduations.
Weddings.
Emergencies. Got to take leave. And when it says in here, and I put paragraph 1, 2, 3.
Mhm.
And again, these are examples, so we can change it. If you want to leave it like this, then, and I'm outvoted, then that's the way it's going to be, but I don't like.
Talking about GBG.
I am talking about request for discretionary.
You're talking about the GBGM.
Yes, GBGM.
Okay.
So I just think that those first 3 paragraphs need adjusted. Like how it says discretionary leaves may not be taken during. And then I said on my examples here, the building principal can make a judgment call. If they think it's necessary, they can give that leave. If not, then they'll say, I'm sorry, that's not a good reason to be gone for this day.
I like paragraph 3 the most.
Yeah.
So.
But these go with each one.
Oh, gotcha.
So paragraph 1, this would be an adjustment for that. Paragraph 2, adjustment. Paragraph 3, an adjustment. The rest of it, I think, is okay.
So in paragraph 1, you could just put a little word like emergency.
Yeah, sure. Mhm. But paragraph 1 basically says that
Says no.
I certify that I have read, understand, blah, 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 this is the staff member, and then I think it needs to be put in there. And comprehend that all leave requests will be left to the judgment of the building principal. Because ultimately, that should be who's making the
But when we do have a standard policy, then it's one school does this, one school does that. It's, if you don't like what mom says, you go to that. And so then you start getting people's changing buildings because there's no consistent policy going on throughout the district.
And that's how it
And
was.
we fought to get this, so we have that consistency. So it's not that, it's just whether this principal likes me or not like me, it's like, this is the district policy. And I don't know what changes we have.
And the reason behind, not the day after or the day following a holiday for discretionary,
No, I understand,
or like
week
the
off or
last
something
2
like that.
weeks of school or something like that is because
Well, that's when graduation
graduations
is.
are.
So you're not gonna be able to go to your nephew's graduation
You take 6
in
weeks.
Spring.
You take 6 weeks during that time.
For graduation?
But that's the problem.
But
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
Still,
yeah, but if you wanna if you wanna have discretionary and you wanna have sick leave, then you're mixing. To me, that's not, I don't know.
yeah.
And that's,
just-
I don't agree with that.
Increase the discretionary days, the amount of days is because that's exactly what people were doing. That's what historical information I received. Coming into this is like, why does this just not say PTO? Paid time off, why is there a sick leave and then discretionary leave? And it's because of the amount of time that can be paid off once someone's retired. So I guess sick leave, if you quit your job, you don't get paid out your sick leave. If you have vacation, you do, but not the sick leave. Now, if you retire, you get paid out so many days of sick leave. That's in another policy. And so if you want to change it all to PTO, put it all together, then you have to look at what's payable upon departure. Would all of these days be paid out? And then what's the liability to the district? It's a much bigger discussion than the perimeters of when you can or cannot take the discretionary leave. But that's why they separated it and gave more days this year for discretionary leave, is because individuals were using their sick leave because they couldn't, their discretion. So they added time.
No, I completely understand that, 100%. It's the being so nitpicky on when,
Yeah, not flexible.
And
not flexible.
that's
And,
the reason, is
hey,
because some schools, some
Yeah.
campuses said, whatever you want, and other ones were like, no. And so it was trying to bring the district all together. So there was a policy to follow so that the administrators didn't have to be.
I just don't like how this is so strict on that. I really don't.
I know.
And you can talk me blue in the face. and
No, I totally agree. It was my question
don't
when I
like
first
it.
started, and it was even.
And I'm someone who never misses a day, by the way. Like I am at that school every single day.
When I taught, I was even there when I was sick because I hated
Yeah.
making lesson plans, writing them out.
And it is tough, we have a lot of, I saw
Be
it all
nice
the
if-
time. We have a lot of married staff that are at 2 different buildings, and they have one principal that
Said, sure, you can go, and the
"Sure,"
other one said, no way.
and the other one says no, so that one that says no, that staff member says, okay, I'm gonna just call in sick. And you know that they aren't, but who are we to say they can't do that?
Yeah, when you see them on the ski slope, you know.
Well,
It's hard to say,
I don't
like,
know.
your thing isn't that, or is.
Absolutely,
your
yeah.
thing. So as a principal,
Because
it's hard to.
emergencies are a perception,
Right.
emergencies are a perception. And when you start doing, making those, one person makes a different perception about it than another, then that's where you get in trouble.
So the only way to really alleviate that is to put no boundaries around the discretionary leave and say, these are your days. You can take them however you want to.
But then you don't have enough subs if everybody takes the same day.
That's been an issue through the school year.
And if everybody decides that they want to go early on I mean, when I got out of school, my first trip was to Lake Powell.
Before
You know, I
Christmas.
want to go 2 days early.
Everybody will put their discretionary
Exactly.
days in for those 2 days. Everybody will.
Exactly.
And it'll be, what, first come, first serve, you know? How do you Isn't that say part of yes? the Paid time off, bill, like you have to put it in the request, so like it's approved as long as, I mean, you didn't put it in early enough, so now there's 20 people out, so. Or there's already 5 people out, so we can't have a 6th, 7th, and 8th, so
Yeah.
the 6th, 7th, and 8th ones will get denied. Not because it's not as important, but because you didn't submit it, but then it's all back.
Really sick, and we're still kind of stuck. in-
Sure, the 6th part with you.
Now you see where this is coming
from. Yeah.
Huh?
And I think most,
See where this is coming
No,
from.
I'm
And
not,
the-
you're still not gonna change them.
I think most of our teachers are not gonna
It's your day.
want to take off
I
It is
really
your day.
without a good reason, because they don't want to have to play catch up when they get back.
been caught in a situation where I had to cover classes because somebody took the time off that shouldn't have.
Well, and it's different in different contexts, right? I mean, when I was principal at Lewis, you know, if you have 3 people out on any given
You
day,
had no staff.
yeah, so, that's why I think that consistency was necessary. I mean, it does ultimately come back to the principal to say yay or nay. And, but it also puts the principal in that position of like, all right, you could be very unpopular here with your decision because certain people. didn't
Because,
do it.
because your daughter's wedding's not an emergency.
Yeah.
She should have thought about this before she set that date.
So I don't know if there's a great answer. but-
And this isn't specifically changing the policy whatsoever. The policy is the same. This is changing the form for the policy to fill out the form, and it's adding part of the policy into the form so it's more
Unified.
unified. And that's what really this is. We're not changing the policy. We're just developing that form. Because the form said sick leave / personal time off. And so we needed a form that's specific for discretionary leave. And then adding that policy in there to show this is what the policy says. So that's, you know, we're not trying to change the policy, although maybe
I
we
am.
should.
I don't even work.
I will say.
Again, I don't miss days, so I'm not saying this because I
Sick
miss.
leave is effectively what's happening. It's kind of an unwritten rule with staff, but that's kind of how it's operating anyways. Is they
It
know
always
that if
has,
they don't
yeah.
know, they're gonna take the sick leave. And if my
See, that's,
understanding is correct, Kyle, did you not say that it's either the fed or the state said that a mental health day cannot be discriminated against as a personal leave day?
Yeah.
And so there's no way that you could say, if I see the ski slopes, you could say it's a mental health day and I need this.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so-
but see, that's why I think we need to combine it all and do a PTO and then reassess how we do payouts. If someone leaves, you have how many
It's
days?
gonna be a tough conversation for people that are
You know-
taking their sick days.
Years and years ago,
And to be paid out.
this is where Ed and I go back. We used to have 10 sick days and 2 personal days. And if we didn't use our personal days, we got paid for them. And at the end, and when you accumulated 66 days, then you had to start giving them away or you just lost them.
And now
Um,
it's 70.
Now it's
70.
I think there's
So,
another,
But
policy
what I'm
where
saying is,
if
can't
you
we just
don't use
combine
them-
and say that, just draw the line, say if you have not used 5 discretionary days, you get paid for them, or 2, just go back to that, and.
Actually, I had this.
I don't know how to do
I had this
it.
conversation with Kyle a couple of weeks ago, and I think maybe we ought to push this back a little bit and try to incorporate some of that in, and that was one of my things that I gave to Kyle, was to take some of these days after, but would it have to be in the policy after teachers been here for, say, 3 years?
Thank
They
you.
would have an option to start being able to sell some days back.
Instead of, yeah,
And we'd have to set up, you know, an amount they could do and everything, because unfortunately, not everybody out there is thinking the same way, and they may say, well, I'm gonna shoot, I need a bunch of money, I'll just sell all these back. Well, then they get sick 2 weeks later and they need sick days and stuff like that. So
Yeah, so is it?
there's got to be some parameters on that, but I think that should be incorporated right into this policy. I think.
Okay, grandfathering.
What we talked
I
about.
like that.
I truly think that, you know, instead of
having all of these days and people that don't take them and don't use them and they carry them forward and carry them forward. And then they leave employment here for whatever reason and they don't get paid for any of that. Whereas what if they would have taken all of that time off, you know, it would have cost us. So I think, you know.
And my sole purpose of it is to-
whole process, this whole policy in a broader sense into the PTO, because also the federal government with the COVID-19 leave pay that I was in my report last month. I wasn't here to report, but I provided that information. Were you all able to read that and understand it? Where, you know, we had received 10 days of COVID pay for every staff member. Well, in 2022, that's not renewed. So there's not another 10 days like there was in 21 and 20. Employees, if they have never used it, they still have it and they can use it. But if they've used it all, they don't get any more and they have to use their sick if they get sick. So the reason that they have slowly stopped renewing that is because there's another rule that's taken into effect for every person who works for you. For every 30 hours work, they get 1 hour of PTO. So even part-time. Right now, our policy is more generous than that. So we don't have to initiate that PTO. We earn much more than that. But that's to take place of the COVID. Now, if we changed our sick leave into a PTO, it would also be adjacent with this federal requirement of the 1 hour for every 30-hour work. And so it'd be easier to make sure that we complied with that if we were able to look at it all and not say, well, here's your sick leave days and here's your discretionary days, which used to be personal days. And then some of y'all get vacation days. Just lump it all in together and do one PTO. It would be great.
I like that.
Decide how to.
I think that
How to
this is
pick it
something that we
out.
need to have a serious discussion about.
What the liability is to the district right now. I mean, if you had to turn around and pay out everybody's sick time at the end of this year, whew,
Yeah.
that's gonna be astronomical. So we need to address that and look at how we can slowly implement this over the next several years and how much it's gonna cost and.
And really, we should see if there's any other districts that have implemented this and see what their policies look like and how it's affected their staff and things of that nature. So.
In the meantime, this is really just for the form. Because the form was really bad before for people to fill out because it didn't
I
have.
really think I agree with you that we need to research it. Like,
We do.
and.
I'll circle it around and see what other districts are doing.
So,
And obviously, if we can find a district that's
Yeah, that'd be
specifically
nice.
got rid of like vacation and sick days and all that, and just does PTO, that'd be something.
How they may have
Yeah, how they
compensated
do that.
people that have.
Okay.
who does? Vegas?
Okay,
How is
Okay.
yours, do you know?
okay.
Yes. We do, 7 personal. But you only get a portion of it every quarter.
Yeah.
So you can't use it all up at once, because what people were doing is they'd come in the first year, use it all, and then they'd
Get done.
they'd head out.
Right, and we can never see.
Yep, so you just have a loss.
And then when we look at this, we also need to look into the sick bank.
Yes.
Look at
that.
Sick bank.
After I taught for 6 years, I had all my 60 days. And so each year that I started teaching, I just put 10 days into a sick bank because I was going to lose it otherwise. So,
Yeah.
well, I did anyway, but it helped somebody.
You used to only be able to put 2 days.
Yeah,
in the sick bank.
Yeah,
I
you did.
remember too.
You did too. Well, you know, but then somebody had an emergency and you had that to fall back on.
Yeah, they've changed it well.
Yeah.
In our policy for
We're long.
it does say that once sick bank has reached a certain amount of accrued days, that we can skip a year if
Yeah.
we need to. and it's time that we skip a year.
Yeah.
So, but we need to read through that policy and address
And you
that
have to be
policy.
a member of the sick bank to use the sick bank.
Right.
Mhm, yeah.
The sick bank isn't for just anything.
It was an emergency when we, you know, back,
Say about that.
you know.
Okay, so we
So
can have,
policy GBGM actually was just for review today. It wasn't one that we were re-looking at. But this exhibit to it is up for second reading on the 22nd. Are you okay to present it as it is here?
Well, I don't think it's second reading, I think it's first reading.
Thank you.
Oh, did we already do first reading?
On the.
Yeah,
I think
on the
well,
form,
the
yes.
form
On the
still
form.
states some of the stuff that we were kind of discussing.
Yeah.
Because it represents the policy.
Right, the policy,
Policy's put on the form.
right, so,
Change this would be something we definitely want to do like, it's the beginning of whatever year.
right.
Yeah, we-
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah,
don't change it
not
now.
mid-year, no,
We need this now.
To be
and then We
implemented.
can look at it in June.
right, right,
Well, we'll have more time then to.
yeah. Okay,
I think it's a definitely good idea because there's lots of people that have had concerns or things since I've been.
okay. Okay, so yeah, any thoughts, opinions, ideas? Okay, so now we're moving to item J, which would be our appointment of our 3 executive directors as superintendent.
Is that action item?
It's an appointment, but
It's an action
it's an
item.
action item.
Okay, I make a motion that we appoint our 3 executive directors to act as superintendent interim.
I second.
Wait,
With Jim.
Not interim.
not interim.
acting.
No, act-
I mean, I'm sorry, acting superintendent until we can find an interim.
But we also need to
Jim,
add Jim.
Oh, and Jim is our first point of contact in an emergency.
All right.
Mr. Parr, I'm sorry.
Parr.
I second it, James.
okay, so Mr. Parr, the reason you have been is because you have the licensure,
Certification.
yeah, and so we thought that would be the best. You know, we're hoping we do not have any emergencies.
Right.
We're really praying really hard.
Not nearly as much as Jim is.
What that means, you can start sleeping with your phone.
But that does not mean you can seek some assistance from your other.
None of that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the first question wasn't
Probably not
how long is this for then? So, experience that.
Just until we get an interim
Yes.
3 years from now.
put in place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I was thinking more like 4.
Yeah, so,
Ms. Noyes, can you tell me who seconded that?
Jeanette.
Did you get it all?
Yes.
Okay, I was kind of off the wall with it.
Gotcha.
Any other discussion on that? This was just part of the legalities of getting that taken care of, so,
We need to vote on it, though.
I'm sorry.
We need to vote.
Yep, so we need to just call for the question, Deborah.
Frazier,
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Noyes,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Wells,
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Okay. All right, welcome. Thank you, guys.
Did we
Officially,
have one more?
thank you so much. Yeah, we do. Yeah, no, I'm just thanking them for. No, so then we have
We need to be nice to them because.
item K.
There's cake over there.
So item K is basically for us to just announce the board's process for hiring an interim superintendent. And basically what we're going to do is we want to ask anybody that is interested to send in a letter of intent with a resume. And we'd like those turned in to the HR department by the 14th at 5 o'clock. So, and then The next process would, the next move,
What was the date of that?
February 15th, I'm sorry, 14th, February 14th by 5 o'clock. So that's Monday. I know the word is out there, so I think. And then we would like to actually hold a special meeting on the 15th for the final, to select a finalist. And then at that point, we have to wait the 14 days to actually offer any kind of,
Announce the applicants
I'm sorry, announce the applicants. And then, yes,
on the 15th,
on the
And
15th.
then, so when can we announce the finalist?
14 days following.
And then after we, so.
Yes.
Okay, I see
So
what
we
you're
announce the
saying.
finalists and then we wait 14 days and then we
Well, no,
will,
we announce who has applied,
on the 15th.
the
On the
applicants on the
15th.
14th,
I'm sorry.
on the 15th, on the
On the
15th.
Yeah,
15th.
they're
Yeah.
due by the 14th. We announce the finalists on the
No, the
15th.
applicants.
Well, the applicants on the 15th, because I don't know that we have to take all of them. Like, so the finalists,
And it could just be one,
yeah,
a
we can,
finalist or a finalist.
yes.
Or more, okay.
Yes,
And
so-
we can do that on the 15th.
Mhm, do
Yes.
that on the
And then-
15th.
And then we have to wait 14 days.
Then we wait the 14 days before we offer any contracts.
I agree with that.
Okay.
That's how I.
And that's what we thought.
Katie, are you confused too?
Oh, no.
Oh,
I'm following.
oh,
I don't know why we.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, well, we kind of questioned that too, but legalities. Yeah. So, yes, we would like to invite anybody interested to submit their letter of intent and their resume by the 15th or the 14th at 5,
There's no.
Valentine's Day at 5. And
So
We have a
14
time for
days
the
past
special
the
meeting on the
15th.
we would like to go, was it 6 o'clock?
Will be the first,
Okay.
Yeah, we're
which
going
is
to
when
announce it
we
on the
have
1st.
a board meeting.
It's the work session.
The work
We'll-
session, work
So
session.
we'll announce it at the work session.
I didn't catch the last piece.
We'll announce the final.
We'll
After the 14
announce,
days, the finalists on the 1st,
On the 1st at our work session.
March 1st.
Members and then the meeting
I'm sorry, say that again.
will be that first day,
We.
I guess.
That's when we can offer.
We can't notify him until then. That's,
Yeah, we won't.
so he can't, or she can't be a part of that meeting until it's been offered
And it's, yeah, at that point, then we can offer them a contract.
On March 1st.
on March 1st.
Mhm.
And I did mention that we needed to have the special, another special, on that special meeting, with the resignation. Right?
That was the other thing, because we have to accept a resignation before we can,
On the 22nd or
Can
the
we do that on
15th?
the same meeting? Can you do that?
Yes, we can.
Before and then after do the.
Can't we do it the same meeting? We can do two
Um,
things. It's on
I
the
don't
agenda.
think we can wait till the 22nd to accept
No,
the
no.
resignation, right?
No,
because
because
you
that
have
will be
to
at the special meeting on the 15th.
So the 15th is when we.
Does that give us a-
accept the resignation.
we would accept the resignation and then,
Finalists.
And
finalists.
Would that work, Cindy, for you?
I'm sure we do. I mean,
I know that we only had a short time frame to accept the resignation.
you have to do this.
I mean, if we need to have a separate special meeting to accept,
Special.
to just accept that at a
Separate
different,
one? Okay.
a whole separate one, okay.
I think that's cleaner. Would it? Right.
Because what's the last day we can before, because you have to do the,
Right, yeah, so we have to have it done before the 15th.
So
or
it's-
the payment.
Can't do it today.
No, because it's a special meeting and it's an action item
Right, so we need to have another special meeting.
Before the 15th.
before the 15th. So I can call in because, but I will
well,
be out of
depending on,
town.
I mean, can we have it tomorrow? Can we have it,
I could do it.
I mean, we need to
I
advertise
could do it tomorrow morning, but I couldn't do it tomorrow
You gotta
afternoon.
do 24 hours.
We got 24
24
hours.
hours, yeah. We have to advertise it.
So. I'm just saying that just whenever you decide, I will call in or
I-
Zoom it.
I will have to call in as well.
Okay, we'll have to, there's,
You just need a quorum.
Okay.
And obviously, if you can help either, but if not, you
Yeah.
just need a quorum to make it happen.
well, we have to make sure then we have a quorum, because there's two gone if everybody else.
I will be out of town.
Tuesday, so you're looking at what, Thursday then?
The 10th?
That's what you're looking at?
Is that gonna be during the day?
Well, that's up to you, because I'm out of it.
Oh, we could do it in the evening.
Yeah, we can do it in the evening.
I can
Be
do it.
around in the evening on that night.
Well, this room has the curriculum meeting in it, Thursday night, right?
Yeah, that will last.
Okay.
What about Friday then?
About 6.
What about Friday?
Oh, it'll only last till 6 on Thursday.
Well, I mean, I haven't been like running people out of the building necessarily,
Yeah.
but, you know. Generally, I mean, if we say that there's another meeting gonna take place, yeah, we could certainly be done by 6.
Well, most of them would prefer to be in here and listen to it anyway.
That's a good question.
What day is that, Monday?
Thursday.
Thursday, the 10th?
I don't know if I can make that. In the
Oh,
evening,
what about Friday?
as long as it's after, I mean, normal time, like 6 or something.
Is that okay with you guys?
You know what I mean?
Stacy?
We don't do nothing on Friday nights anymore, do we?
Stockman's is Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, Saturday, so I'm cooking
No,
stuff.
no, is it Stockman's?
So, yeah, Cattleman's is.
Cattleman's, yeah.
On Saturday.
Yeah, I can make Friday.
On Friday at 6?
Friday at 6, is that okay with you guys?
6, whatever.
Yep, no, you're fine. No, we're all looking around and trying.
I won't be here, so.
So
But we can call in, though.
Item for the
Call in.
special meeting on the 11th, Friday, the 11th, would be to accept the resignation of Dr. Vanderway.
Yes. And I can call in.
Yeah, and I can
If you'll
call
set
in
up the phone, I can call in.
Yeah, I can.
And another one. on the 15th.
And then we'll have another one on the 15th.
Is that doable, Deborah?
Yeah, we were talking about if we should just Zoom the whole thing. Would you guys prefer that to all be by Zoom?
Matter to me.
I mean, once we Zoom one person.
I'll be in California, so.
I mean,
This office is closed on Friday, just so y'all know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right.
What can you do on Thursday, Lane? Nothing?
If we Zoom during the day sometime, I would have to look at the schedule. I don't have it off the top of my head, but we could do a Zoom during the day or something.
Okay.
Just trying to figure out.
But we can do
Just
a
so-
Zoom with just a couple individuals and the rest in person. That's fine.
well, it's Friday, you guys, it's closed. You
Right.
guys are closed.
It's up to you guys.
I can do Thursday morning, but at 11:30, my retreat starts and it goes until 6 o'clock.
6 to 9, or 9 to 10 is the health.
Advisory meeting.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take very
No, it's
long.
just a single item. So if you guys do Zoom on Friday, that might be the easiest way.
If you guys can set it up.
Well,
for
yeah,
Friday.
if,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
as easy or easier to Zoom everyone than it is to Zoom a couple.
Okay, so if you can set it up as a Zoom, I'm fine with it. I was thinking of you guys.
yeah.
I'd be fine with it for a meeting like
So
that.
Friday evening then, we're looking?
6?
6 PM by Zoom, you'll get a link and it'll be provided on the agenda,
Okay,
which we'll put out tomorrow.
okay.
And you'll send that link to the rest of us as well?
So, and it needs to be on the website because it is a special meeting and it's public.
We're still gonna have an in-person meeting on the 15th.
Yes. Boy, are we confused yet?
I'm lost.
That didn't take.
It might be easy to say what days we don't have.
I know.
Okay,
Avery's waiting for that cake to get cut.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so Deborah, you did get all of that. We're good. Okay, we're good there. Okay. All right. We have no other policies, no other additions, no other discussions. I will adjourn this meeting at 8:50.
Wow.
Thank you guys for